On the 10th day of Christmas, namely 90s gave to me. 10 Kenans scheming, 9 orphans playing, 8 orphans geeking, 7 twins a-twinning, 6 sliders sliding, 5 fruit cakes, 4 time loops, 3 young kids, 2 prophetic dreams, and a refrigerator day bonus.
Welcome to Namely 90s. The podcast that takes you back to the time before smartphones, Google, and Y2K. Join your hosts as they relive the pop culture that shaped a generation and the parts that many people wish they could forget. Listen in to the conversation about how the decade defined those who spent their childhood there and how it shaped them as adults. So, turn down the grunge and dial up the internet. Let's get started. It's time for Namely 90s.
That's right, you're listening to Namely 90s. My name's Andrew, and over there's Brandon.
That's me.
You can find us online at namely90s.com. Sorry.
No worries.
Or on Twitter and Instagram at namely90s with a 90s. You can also watch the show on YouTube at namely90s.com/YouTube. And finally, if you'd like to support the show, head on over to patreon.com/namely90s, also with a 90s, and sign up for a support level. Anyway, this is the 10th episode of our 12 Days of Christmas specials that we are recording. And to introduce our guest, let's go to Brandon.
Wow. Wait, what? You're not going to steal anything?
Not today.
Okay. You must be under the weather again.
Just a bit.
Dang it. Now I don't have anything prepared. Today, very happy, everyone. We get to have Rocky Powell from Wild Nights with Rocky Powell on our podcast. Hi, Rocky. How are you?
Hi, boys. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
it's a pleasure. Yeah. So Wild Nights, your tagline is reliving your wildest nights one episode at a time. I love like the whole idea and concept behind your show. It's a little comedy. You're reliving people's like past wildest nights, whether that's some sort of interesting sexual encounter or heavy drinking days, or it's so fun to see what comes up on your show. Can you give our listeners a little wider explanation of what it is, or did I steal?
No, you crushed it. No thunder stolen. We can share the thunder. I started my podcast a little over a year ago. I'm a comedian in New York City. I do improv and I write, and I'm an actress, and I really missed the camaraderie of after improv shows and comedy shows of all of us hanging out outside the theater and drinking and smoking and just being debaucherous. And I had wanted to start a podcast for a long time, but I never knew really what I wanted to make it about. And I do voiceovers and stuff. So I have a lot of recording equipment and I'm used to editing on my own. So I think it was the end of October of last year, I kind of just said, I miss speaking to comedians. I miss speaking to entertainers. I miss being out in the mix. And I'm a party girl and I miss partying. So I came up with the concept for Wild Nights. And I have, luckily because of Zoom, as you guys know, you can have guests from all over. You don't have to, before.
Pretty awesome.
It is pretty awesome. And I think before the pandemic, people were a little more limited and didn't even think outside the box of having people virtually on. That felt like maybe more of like a newscaster thing where they would bring people in, but not a podcast thing. So it's given me the opportunity to talk to fine gentlemen like yourself who are not in my same location. And I've gotten to interview a lot of stand-up comedians from LA. I started it basically to have entertainers on in the industry, but then I really leaned into having stand-up comedians, and a majority of my guests are stand-up comics. So I tell all my guests before they come on, the story can be as wild, whatever your definition of wild is, just as long as it's wild to you. So some people will come on and they'll tell a little bit more of a tame story, and then we'll talk about them in their professional life. But some people come on and tell some wild, like stereotypically wild stories. So it's been pretty great. And I've really expanded my comedy network with it. And I always start my show. I either write a topical poem, jingle, or tell a story from my own Wild Nights history. And then I do a segment called the Rocky Rundown, where I basically talk about my week and I share my highest moments of the week, because I am a true blue ganja goddess. I love the green. And so I just always share my highest moments of the week, and then we get to the guest interview.
Love it. Highest moments.
Yeah, Rocky's highest thoughts.
That's awesome. And like, was it a couple weeks ago you did, when Britney was freed, you did like, for the intro jingle, you did your own version of Toxic, which I thought
Toxic 2.
Toxic 2. Was it
That's
2
the
or
name of
2.0?
If I might
It was
wrote
2.
Yeah,
No,
Toxic 2 is the name. Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. I liked the line, "Britney is free, but you're still toxic."
Thank you.
That was great.
Thank you.
But yeah, that's a brilliant idea. Andrew's always like, because we call ourselves a comedy podcast, and I just used air quotes for those of you that watch us, but we're not actual comedians. We don't get to do. We don't have a tight five for the comedy club for open mic night. Although I would like to do that at one point, but I did improv in high school, but it's probably nothing compared to what you do these days. Like, it's cool to have an actual comedian on our show that could probably carry the two of us through this whole episode.
Someone who's funny on purpose and probably reliably, unlike my, bad attempts, which are usually offensive. And anyway.
But I've listened to your show before, guys. You are funny. Like, don't. And I think comedian is a broad term, because I don't do stand-up comedy. I love stand-up comedy. I don't do stand-up comedy. I'm a little afraid, even though I could probably. But
it's terrifying,
I do.
Isn't it?
It's terrifying, and it's hard. And I have so much respect for stand-ups. But comedy is a broad spectrum. So don't sell yourself short, fellas.
I would say good improv is really excellent. Like,
Andrew has trouble with yes and.
I am bad at it. I'm like, no, I don't know. What are you saying? I don't get it.
No.
And I would just stop. But no. Like, but I remember growing up, we used to watch Whose Line all the time. And it's just so good. Like, the quality. And it's so funny. So I do like great improv.
It's hard to, I was a kid in improv that was always trying to figure out how to bring it back to a joke, which is not the best.
That's more work for yourself. If you just like play the truth of a scene and make it about the characters in the scene and their relationship, the jokes will just come. But that's the thing. A lot of people think they have to try to be funny, and it's really when you're trying not to be funny and you're more truthful. That's where the comedy comes from.
Yes, and I really had a hard time with that, just letting the scene play itself. And also that one time when Andrew, we went up against your school, they had plants in their audience and made me say the word booby tassel.
Sucker.
I'm sure it was earned.
Well, yes, it was that game where you bring, I think Pillars it was called. So you bring up audience members and have them fill in words for you. And I had a dead cat that choked on a booby tassel was where the scene took me. It was very fun. Anyway,
tripping.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I've lost my train of thought. I'm just, 15 years later, I'm still upset that happened to me.
15 years? We were probably in high school at the same time. Did you guys graduate in 2006?
7.
Oh, I'm a little older. You have a cougar on the show, boys.
Yes. That's the other thing. We're in the same age range, which is nice to have people on, because then you remember stuff from our childhood, like growing up in the 90s. Do you have any Oh, I always forget to introduce the episode that we're actually watching. We brought Rocky on because we're watching Kenan Kel today, or we watched Kenan Kel today, a Merry Christmas Kenan episode 1, or sorry, season 1, episode 10 or 11, depending on which platform you look it up on. But yeah, do you have any memories of Christmas from the 90s, or should we move just straight into Kenan and Kel?
Well, I can tell you a Christmas memory that is kind of, I realized was from Kenan and Kel, but I want to give you credit really quick, Brandon, because you made a good point about how growing up around the same time, we are going to have those same memories. And I clocked in the beginning when you said, that's me, that's Amanda, or Ask Ashley from Amanda Bynes.
Yep.
So
not a lot of people get that.
I thought you stole it from another podcast.
No, I stole it from all that.
I thought you stole it. What did you steal from another podcast? Oh, it's your ending thing.
My ending is what everyone, or no, I took that from Rewind, which is a YouTube series, a wine educational edutainment YouTube series I used to do, or I do on and off on YouTube, and then other people use the same sign off because it's a generic sign off. Anyway,
speaking of Brandon's little big foray into the wine edutainment. Yeah,
wine edutainment.
Wine edutainment series. He also has his own private label of wine that he made. Oh. It's very good. We've been opening up some of it recently because I realized it probably needs to be drank fairly soon.
Yeah, if you saw that Pinot, you should probably drink it.
Yeah, we did. It was really good. They loved it. But Brandon has his own wines. They're excellent.
Is that true?
I was an assistant winemaker. I'm currently looking for a new position. But yeah, I make wine I made wine for like 4 different vintages, and there's currently like 100 cases of wine sitting in storage somewhere waiting to be labeled and sold. And
how do I get my hands on a bottle?
We'll talk after the show.
Yeah, let's talk after the show. I'd love to try your wine. It's
excellent quality.
Yeah.
I believe you. I don't feel like you're being facetious, Andrew. I feel like that's a genuine, like, it's good wine.
We usually put it up top because it's like, we don't want to drink it. We want to save it. But then now it's like, well, now we need to drink it. This is a crisis. Yeah. So we've been drinking a lot of wine recently.
Hey, bottoms up, baby.
Well, if you need 100 more cases of wine, let me know. Yeah, but weird random promotion for myself aside. You said you had a Kenan and Kel holiday memory?
Yeah, so actually, while I was watching the episode, there's a part, and maybe we'll get to this when we talk about it, but there's a part where the family says they open one gift on Christmas Eve. And so that I remembered one year, it never happened before this or after this, but there was one year, and it had to be during the Kenan and Kel era, because where would I get this idea from? I convinced my parents to let me open one gift before. So on Christmas Eve. So for a long time, my family and extended family, we had this tradition where we would go out for this dinner at this Italian restaurant near us. And we would just get like a private room, and my family would get super smashed. And then the next day would be Christmas. And my parents were like drunkenly wrapping Christmas gifts and shit. So can I swear on here?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We'll throw an e-tag on it. No worries.
Okay, sorry. But my parents were like drunkenly wrapping Christmas gifts. And that was like our life for a long time every year. And so one year I convinced my parents to let me open a gift, and they went upstairs like they were going to bed. I think this was like the one year the gifts were already wrapped and under the tree, which is rare because my mom still likes to keep the illusion of Santa alive. And I had one gift in my hand. They let me pick one. They all went up to bed, and they told me you cannot open it until 10:30. Okay. So I'm watching the clock. It's like 8:48 or something. And I little by little, no one's supervising me. I could have just opened this gift and gone to bed, but I little by little start ripping the paper every couple minutes. And before 10:30, the gift is open, and it was a handheld Jeopardy. Ooh. Now, I'm a Wheel of Fortune girl, so I was disappointed. And I remember thinking, man, this new tradition sucks. And I didn't ask for a handheld Jeopardy. and I was just ungrateful and disappointed. But
Oh.
I think I got the idea from Kenan Kel.
That's awesome. That actually just triggered a memory for myself as well. There was a 1 year when I was told, "Oh, you should open one present first," or before. I think it was around the same time. I think I also tried to steal it from Kenan and Kel, and I think it was. Let's see, is the timeline's right? It was I opened either a Nintendo 64 or a GameCube, but since you could only open one, the games were wrapped separately. And I was just like,
Smart.
"Oh, cool! I have a console that I can't play for another 24 hours or 12 hours ish, just sitting in front of me." Because I got greedy and wanted an early Christmas present.
Joke's on you.
Yep, egg on my face.
On his face.
But we were talking before we started. Kenan Kel is such a amazing show, and like a part of growing up. That I forgot how much I loved the show until I watched it. Rocky, you were saying something similar. What is everyone's history with Kenan and Kel? I guess we should start with our guest.
We also were talking a little bit before the show about All That. I loved All That, and that's where Kenan and Kel, they were cast members of that show, which was, if anybody doesn't know, All That was basically a Nickelodeon's version of children's sketch comedy like SNL, right. And it was a half hour every week. So Kenan and Kel got their own show. I just watched every episode. I remember loving it. I think I had a crush on Kel, if I'm remembering correctly, because I kind of was like, man, Kel aged real nicely. I really remember. Was it Snick? They were on Snick.
Snick, yes, the Saturday Night Nick.
Saturday Night Nickelodeon.
Was it the Orange Couch, or was it the
orange couch?
Purple graphics, Orange Couch.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It was even in the Kenan and Kel intro, they have the orange couch, and I just remember loving it, and then having the pleasure of rewatching it for your show. I was actually laughing out loud, and that was season 1.
Yeah, season 1, halfway through the first season. Andrew, did you watch Kenan and Kel?
You know, I do believe that we did. I don't remember it that well because I definitely didn't watch it regularly, but I'm obviously very well aware of it.
I definitely also watched every episode. Wow. Because All That was amazing at the time, because as kids it's like, oh, it's SNL, but it's for us, and
that's kind of fun.
They were weird and zany, and this came from that era of Nickelodeon where I call it the golden era, where they were like still catering to, or they weren't, how do I say this? They were catering to kids, but they weren't pandering to kids. It was, they weren't talking down to kids. They weren't like doing stuff that adults thought kids should be watching. It was like children's programming for children to preteens, I guess. And it was the best. I think it was the best version of Nick over the eras. But for those of our listeners that don't know, Kenan and Kel is an American sitcom created by Kim Bass.
Sure.
It aired on Nickelodeon from 1996 to 2000, set in Chicago. It follows Keenan Rockmore, played by Kenan Thompson, and his optimistic but dim-witted best friend, Kill Kimball, played by Kel Mitchell, who go on a number of misadventures. If Kenan Thompson is ringing a bell and you don't know why, he's the cast member from SNL that's been on for a very, very long time at this point. And Kel Mitchell, I think, was on some Nickelodeon show recently again. Let's see. Also, they're the guys from Good Burger.
Yeah.
Which
was an All That sketch.
It was. And
okay.
Just like when SNL was making movies during the 90s, like Night at the Roxbury, Ladies Man, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yep.
All That got to make their own movie as well into Good Burger. The show features Kenan's family, Roger, Cheryl, and younger sister Kyra, who has a giant is it Kira? Kyra has a giant crush on Kel. What else? Basically, they're high school students that go on various misadventures, which occurs as a result of Kenan scheming and Kel being, foiling it on accident due to his aloofness. So Andrew, do you remember when we were in Vegas? Kayla's gonna hate me for bringing this up, but you and your wife got in a small argument in Caesar Palace. We bring this up every once in a while.
Small.
And your wife may have stormed off into the 114-degree heat outside of the air-conditioned lobby.
I do
of
recall
Caesar's
that.
Palace.
Yep.
Yes, and then you gave me a look, and then went after her, and then I was calling after you guys. Guys, can't we just argue in here? It's 114 degrees outside, guys.
I do remember that.
And then to no one but myself and everyone walking around me, I did, here it goes.
Oh my gosh.
That was a reference to what Kel always said.
Okay. I'll be honest, I didn't really catch that.
Well, you were a bit more occupied trying to, storm out into...
Priorities were elsewhere.
It was so
Exactly.
hot. I mean...
Whereas I was
let's
just
go
making...
to Vegas in July. This should be great.
Yes. So that's my story about... Well, clearly I like taking things from all that and Kenan Kel with my...
Clearly.
That's me, and here it goes. It just gets ingrained in your memory. But yeah, so I think it aired for 65 episodes.
Wow.
I thought I wrote it down. 4 seasons, 65 episodes, and it ended with a movie special, which I kind of vaguely remember. But
Yeah, that's not ringing a bell.
yeah, but what we did do is we all watched Merry Christmas Kenan, which is... It opens with... So, Andrew watched The Rip from Dailymotion, which is mirrored and kind of like zoomed in.
But VLC will let you unmirror it.
Oh, perfect. That's good. Did that... So...
It helped.
but it's also kind of like zoomed in, so you can only see their mouths half the time.
And I played it at fast speed because I watched it literally just before this, and it was even more obnoxious than it would have been at regular speed.
So I don't think the Rip didn't have the intro either, which is I think we should talk about because the title music, the intro is done by Coolio. And Rocky may have mentioned before the episode started that she remembers the lyrics verbatim.
I know every single word in my core. And I told Brandon before you got on, Andrew, that I woke up one morning in 2015, literally, like, do you remember the game Don't Wake Daddy if we're doing nostalgia?
Oh, yeah.
Sure. I woke up like, Don't Wake Daddy, and I go, I know all the words to Kenan and Kel. I don't know why that popped in my head, but I do know it.
You just shot straight up in your bed and said that aloud?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I'm sure my ex-boyfriend was like, oh, here it goes.
And well, I mean, that's how cool is that Coolio did because he like this was around the time that Gangsta's Paradise was like top of the charts, and he comes in and does the intro for this kids show. Yeah. Which also, All That is another theme song that's like stuck in my head from this era, and that was done by TLC, I believe.
It was.
Yeah. So it's like it's amazing how all of these like kid shows got brought in like just immense talent and like acts that were at the height of their careers to just come in and do a kids show.
Kind of like that Pokemon reboot album they're doing right now, where like for some reason Post Malone is covering a Hootie and the Blowfish song for Pokemon. It just makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, maybe it's probably it might be a good movie then. Maybe because you have to think it's a testament to the quality of the shows that such huge artists at that time would put their name behind it.
Right. Or just like, I think an extra level of care that these shows are for. I mean, they're for kids, but it's like people actually believe in what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, watching this episode, it wasn't like an episode of, I want to say iCarly's a thing. No,
might have been a little too old for that.
Yeah, like it's not an episode of whatever the current bad kids television is. That's just like nothing happens for 20 minutes, and then there's a slight conflict, and then everyone learns a lesson.
Some light conflict toward the end.
Yeah.
Like this actually had some heart to it. With I guess we should just get into it. Merry Christmas, Kenan. It was. So each episode of Kenan Kel starts with Kenan and Kel coming out on stage to talk to the audience before it starts.
Which I have something to say about that.
Yes.
I want to start really, I have something to say about this passionately. There is when Dave Chappelle does his comeback this was a few years ago when he did his first Netflix show or special. He said, I had to watch Key and Peele do my show is one of the lines he says. And because Key and Peele come out and talk to the audience, Dave Chappelle first came out and talked to the audience. But let's not forget Dave Chappelle. Yes. Kenan and Kel came out and talked to the audience first. So I just want to put that out there, and I want to put it in the streets because I loved Chappelle's show when it was on the air, but I will say I loved Kenan and Kel first.
Yeah.
Also, at this point, you can't do anything original anymore. So stop trying to pretend that you know what I mean? Like
it's hard to it's hard to be an original.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to speak for Andrew, but we'll back you. We'll back you on that, Rocky.
Oh, yeah. I think my timeline works out where Kenan and Kel was before Chappelle's show. Yeah,
Chappelle was at this point. He was still this was pre You've Got Mail, so he wasn't in that yet. He was in
Nutty Professor. Probably he was the comedian.
Oh,
yes,
wow.
he was Reggie, the comedian that heckles Eddie Murphy.
Huh. He had a good run in the early 90s before he got his own show.
Yeah, the teeth and everything. He's like talking about Reggie. Do you remember that?
I have not seen the Nutty Professor in 2 decades, but that I do remember that scene. Yes.
Wait, he was the comedian that, and then he comes back as the hot guy, and he roasts Dave Chappelle and slams his head in the. I might have seen Nutty Professor once or twice.
I remember watching it a few times. It was always on TV, but wasn't he also in like a stoner comedy from the 90s that everyone? Or no, that was the 2000s.
Yes. No, he was. He was. It'll come to me probably before the end of the episode, but he was. It's
escaping me. I want to say Norm Macdonald was in it.
I keep wanting to say Airheads, but it wasn't Airheads. Half-Baked.
Half-Baked. Thank you. Yes. Mm-hmm. That was another one. Here it goes is what my notes say. But like Kel kept like bringing in Christmas gags, and Kenan got a one-horse. Is it one-horse open sleigh? I've never really understood. Yeah. Is the sleigh open? Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's not a covered sleigh.
I'm not a horse person, personally. But yes, so so it's framed like they come out, talk to the audience, and then it goes into the episode where Kel's hanging cans of orange soda on the Christmas tree. Which, who loves orange soda?
Kel loves orange soda.
Is it true?
Mm-hmm. I do.
That was Kenan Kel's classic orange soda, or that was just Kel's classic bit for.
He would do it to himself.
Mm-hmm.
And he now has type 2 diabetes. Just saying.
He's 1 foot down.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the the orange soda. I think that's why I loved orange soda as a kid, because I watched Kenan and Kel.
Yeah.
And there was actual good orange soda. Fanta's not it. And,
like classic orange soda. I mean,
The-
fruit
the-
flavored
the
sodas
mi-
were good.
The Minute Maid orange soda was where it was at for me. I'm just saying. I don't know if anyone remembers that. Like there's like 4 different soda fountain orange sodas back in the day.
Wow.
That was the one for me. I noted that Kel is like a Kimmy Gibbler and or Steve Urkel type for this family.
Sort of generally disliked, but like they keep leaving the door unlocked. Lock your door.
Which is like, again, a family living in Chicago, and they just have their front and back door unlocked at any time.
Not good for the statistics.
Right? And like that's I think the 3rd or 4th episode this year of people living in Chicago with their doors unlocked.
My other question is, why is Chicago like the place that shows are set?
In the 90s. I guess there's an entire line of
just like
CBS shows.
And really all it is like shows that are
Chicago
shot
Fire.
in California with establishing shots of Chicago.
Yeah.
Well, that's because all the shows set in California have establishing shots shot in California and then are shot in Vancouver, BC.
Yeah, it's true.
I feel like probably and this is just, I've never thought about it, but on first assumption, I would think that a lot of shows are shot or framed in Chicago because it's a nice middle ground between New York and LA. So it's still a big city, but you don't have to associate with a coast. It's kind of like the middleman.
It's the Midwest.
Yeah.
That's fair. I'll give you
That is a good point. Yeah. Blew my mind there. Speaking of where this was shot, Andrew, I read that the first 2 seasons of the show was shot at Universal Studios Orlando, where Nickelodeon had like their own studio that you could just walk through on a tour during the day. And then the second 2 seasons were shot on a closed stage in Georgia.
Oh, Georgia, the entertainment capital of the United States.
It seems to be the East Coast. It's where you go for on the East Coast to shoot. But yeah, so where were we?
Yeah, a lot of things shoot in Georgia. Walking Dead shoots in Georgia. They do a lot of movies. Yeah, Tyler Perry's I don't want to be wrong about this, but I think Tyler Perry's entire movie studio is in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, I wouldn't have guessed that.
Yeah, if you ever look, when you watch something, if you watch it to the end, look for the little Georgia peach.
Made in Georgia. Yeah.
For some reason, when someone says Georgia, I don't think of Atlanta. I just think of like some sort of swampy
I'm with
area.
You. Yeah.
But then I forget there's like a massive city there too.
Yeah.
I think what it was is the 90s Universal Studios in Orlando tried to become like a filming location, but then Florida kept taxing them, and then Georgia was like, oh, you should just move everything over here. Because as Rocky said, all those places or all those things are filmed in Georgia. I think Archer, like their animation studios in Georgia, because but yeah, if you're on the East Coast and you're not in New York, you're shooting in Georgia most likely.
Oh, okay, good to know.
Kel does a pratfall, and a Christmas tree topper falls on Kenan's dad's head and sticks. That was interesting. I think it was at this point I realized this is the mountain bike episode. I like it triggered something in my head. I was like, oh yeah, I remember Kenan, and there was a mountain bike, and something happened.
And something happened.
Well, I remember him trying to buy it, and I should have realized it was a Christmas episode, being that he was trying to buy it, and there was people. What I didn't understand was, like, Kel's like, if you spend all of your money on the bike, you won't have enough money for presents for everyone else. And it was like, I thought that would be like the crux of the episode, that he buys the bike and then doesn't have any presents for everyone else. Man, was I wrong. Let's see. Next scene, there was Kenan was at work, and the old lady was buying the stuff and offered to sing him Christmas carols.
I feel like if I worked in like a retail store and someone offered to sing me Christmas carols, I'd be like, yeah, that's a hard pass. Thanks though. So that's kind of what Kenan does in this situation.
Yeah, you're like, please just keep it moving. Unless, you're trying to get a laugh or like make a story out of it later, that is also a hard no for me.
I mean, it's an old lady that seems to be halfway senile because she started doing the 12 days of Christmas, and he was able to just be like, day 12.
Oh, now I feel bad.
It follows a common theme in these episodes we've watched, which is people randomly bursting into song. Like these episodes, they end and they're all like, they're sitting around the fire, and then some lady comes from like the kitchen and just starts singing a Christmas carol. Like if my mom did that, I would be like, what? Like it would just be so odd. That doesn't happen.
What are you putting in that eggnog, lady?
Yeah.
And I like that. So this was obviously making fun of that, and yet at the end of the episode, they circle back to singing at the end. But let's see, Kel singing in the alley when Kenan's on his break with the old lady in the store, that got me. And then there's this whole subplot where Chris, the store owner, found a dancing Santa in the back alley, and it somehow like judo chops him and wrestles him to the ground as Kenan's out doing his own business and working at a different place. I
was kind of half watching at the time, but effectively it's like an attacking robot Santa, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's plugged into the wall.
It was not an appealing looking Santa either. It looked like, it looked like a divorcee who's like, or like a divorced guy who was just like, all right, I guess I'm doing this now. He's just down on his luck. It was such a weird thing.
The Santa, I was thinking, kill it with fire. It's like...
Well, so I was assuming it wasn't actually like a robot, and it was just like he just found a homeless man dressed as Santa in the alley and didn't realize it because obviously that was like an actor pretending to be
totally.
a fake Santa.
Yeah. And they added the sound effects later. Yeah.
But yeah, let's see. So Kenan goes and worships his mountain bike, puts down $100 deposit. The bike salesman is the worst.
Yeah, I would concur.
Agreed.
At one point he says, what does he say? Moochie?
And they go, Moochie.
I have no idea what that means. Both Kenan and Kel are like, Moochie?
Does he say, I'll be back in a Moochie?
That's what it was. Yes, I'll be back in a Moochie.
And then I forgot that Kenan and Kel used, I guess it meant like second or a moment, but I forgot that when they didn't understand a word, they would do that Moochie. They would say the word like that.
Oh yeah, that was some good stuff. And then he also says hasta la cia.
Yeah, and El Munio.
El Munio, yes.
That was cringy.
Very cringy. I think he also said no show or show.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Kel introduces us to the tuba phone as seen on TV. Who doesn't want a tuba phone for Christmas?
It's a tuba, but it's also a phone.
Like having to reach into the tuba to pull out the corded phone.
It's like a red receiver with a cord. I was like, I don't.
It didn't even match.
A bright blue tuba and a red phone. For all of you younger listeners out there, a phone had cords back in the 90s because they had to be plugged into a wall.
Or a tuba.
Apparently kids are asking nowadays why we say hang up the phone.
Yeah, I just saw that.
I saw it. I saw it too.
Especially if the phone was mounted on the wall.
Did you repost that on Twitter? Because I may have saw that from you.
I think I saw it. I didn't repost it, but I saw it on a meme that kids are like, why do you say hang up the phone?
And it's just like,
yeah, and it's so much less satisfying. It used to be like, well, I'm not talking to you either. And now you're just like,
hard tap.
Yeah, half the time you can't even hang it up.
And the first hard tap doesn't even register, and you're like,
it just wakes the phone up.
No.
Let's see. So then we get to see some terrible child acting as like some southern kid like sits super hard on Santa's lap and requests a fighter jet for Christmas, and then punches the Santa
as one does
into submission. Like the Santa is knocked out cold.
Not how you get a fighter jet.
No, I think that puts you on both the FBI watch list and Santa's naughty list when that happens. He also someone calls him Santa Claus. I don't remember who. I just wrote that down in my notes.
I thought that was weird too. They're like Santa Claus.
Yeah,
like they were in Nightmare Before Christmas.
That's what it is.
That's what it sounded like.
Something was coming. I was like, what is that from? Thank you for.
Someone understands the reference.
But it was weird to call him Santa Claus.
And also, I have in quotes, "That's my jolly fat man." I don't know why that was said. But yes, Kenan got $100 to be Santa Claus for a few hours, or as I wrote in my notes, Santa Callus.
Santa Cals.
And then Kel is his little elf helper.
Which made me LOL. I actually laughed out loud when he's like, and I'm his little elf. I laughed out loud for sure.
Does Kel also get $100, or is he just doing that for fun?
I think so.
Okay. So Kenan Santa went pretty well. There was a little girl who didn't speak English from Fishlakia, and that part made me laugh out loud.
Yeah.
The made up, probably some sort of Nordic language.
Scandinavian.
Scandinavian, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Kenan just happened to know Fishlakian because the little girl wouldn't have believed if he didn't speak Fishlakia.
Convenient time to know Fishlakian.
Was that a running gag in the show, or did he just did that just come out of nowhere? Is my question.
I don't know. We'd have to.
It's a beautiful language.
I loved I tried to write one down. He said "Ugen Lugen Schlugen," and then Kel just jims the camera, like Office style.
Yeah, he's like
deadpan. And then finally we get to the part that moves the plot forward. A boy and his little sister, he asks for his little sister to get a bike because it got stolen and the mom can't afford to buy her a new one. And we get the moment of the episode.
Once again, if they would lock their door.
That's a good point. I think their doors were locked, but the
their
window
windows weren't.
Yeah.
That was a young Zach Morris.
Because
He's
he
not
looked
in
like
Billy,
yeah,
but
I was
he looked
gonna
like
say,
Zach
He
Morris.
did.
I was like, I'm pretty sure Zach Morris was grown up at that point.
No, he was, but he reminded me of Zach Morris.
That's fair. They could have used him in his flashback scenes if they needed to. And yeah, so let's see. Santa, the mom's just like comes up afterwards and is like, "Oh, I can't afford to give them a bike." And Kenan's like, "What are you? Well, but I told them she's gonna get her bike." And she's like, "I'll just tell them Santa got lost or something." And like at that moment, I'm like, "Damn, this episode took a heavy turn. I wasn't expecting
it really
that.
Did.
I just wanted orange soda, and here it goes."
And we got this lying mom. I lie like I always do.
Yeah. It was like she should have been just standing there, disheveled, smoking a cigarette.
Yeah.
Staring off in the distance.
I know she looked like Mary Tyler Moore. No one believes you, lady.
No, she looked affluent enough to have.
Yeah, I hate to go by appearances, but I was like, these are the richest people I've ever seen. Like,
the richest poor people you've ever seen, right?
Why can they not afford a bike?
Yeah.
And I also have a problem with that too, because I don't know about you if your parents took you to see Santa when you were younger, but I remember that used to be expensive. Like that was expensive in the early 2000s. And like it was, I think it was like $35 plus another 15 or 20 per kid. and then you got to pay for the picture
It's
afterwards.
like
I'm
90s expensive. Yeah.
I'm like, honey, you need to not be taking your kids to see Santa. This is not where your money needs to go.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't remember how much it cost. I don't remember the pricing because I was just lost in the magic of seeing Santa. But the photos were expensive, and after a while, there wasn't just like some random dude sitting in the department store for you just to go up to. It was all about the money.
Yeah.
Classic Santa. Kenan goes back to get his bike, but sees a little girl with her bike, and then, like, clearly he's decided to give a bike to that little girl. But how is he? The other thing is, how does he find? He dresses up as Santa again, and he finds this family's house to break into. Also, just black man breaking and entering on Christmas in Chicago. That in any other situation that would end.
I just
terribly.
feel like if you're like, no, I'm just here to deliver them a present, they'd be like, yeah, right, scumbag. Like,
How did he find the address? That was my same question. And then I was like, Kenan, what are you doing?
I feel like
Ring the bell.
he's committing
Yes,
a series of
exactly.
crimes to like stalk this family and then break into their home.
Make an arrangement with the mom. Don't break in the window. This is not the move.
Yeah, if you found their address, you've most likely found their phone number as well,
He put the bike outside the door.
where it should have been stolen.
My question is,
Like-
why did he have to bring a knife? No, wait, hold on. That didn't happen.
Well, how did he get the window open?
Oh my God. Kenan.
Yeah, it was. I also he had to dress up as Santa to do a B&E for Did he?
Isn't he
And
having to
all the
rent
lights
this
were on.
Santa suit each time? Like, isn't he wasting his money, like
Well,
renting the Santa suit?
I think he stole
second
it.
time?
I think he stole it from the department store.
Oh, good, another
I
crime.
like to think
Or
I like to think he borrowed it
Borrowed
from the
it,
department store,
yes.
but still, Kenan, what's going on?
Or bought it from the other department store.
And how early were they asleep? Because he still did it and had time to go back to his house where it was 9:30.
That's a good point.
Like,
Wow.
we went to bed at 7. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or what? I mean, that should have been on Christmas Eve, right? The kids weren't just like,
Yeah.
Santa, what are you doing here 3 days early?
Yeah. I mean, I was paying attention to this episode.
More than me, and I took notes too.
I almost took notes. How funny is that?
Let's see. This is yet again, child actors are terrible.
Always.
Just general rule. Let's see. He got Katie the bike and the other presents, and also got her brother Daniel a bike. Heartwarming. And then, like you said, made it back to the house for Christmas Eve at 9:30, and the guy that owns the bodega, Chris, that Kenan works for, was there for some reason.
Yeah.
Everyone invites their boss, who has a mother at home, on Christmas Eve to come over, right?
Yeah. A mother, she only eats mashed potatoes, apparently.
Yeah, because she doesn't have any teeth anymore.
It's easier for her.
And then we get to the thing we talked about before. Everyone got to open one present before or on Christmas Eve, and Kel got Kenan. Anyone remember?
Oh, Kel got Kenan boxers that they looked like they light up. They had hot dogs on them, but he said they were heated boxers.
Battery powered.
Battery powered.
Okay,
Oh,
because
yes.
my question was, what is the function that the electricity is providing in those? I didn't watch it that closely.
He
I was
could
like,
only see their eyes, so he didn't
Yeah.
get to see the boxers.
It was lower out of
But
frame.
I'm like, what is the battery powering? Yeah, are they heated? Are they ventilated? What other functions could they have?
They're supposed to keep
know.
your nethers warm, I think, at one point. It might have been said. And Kel gets his, of course, tuba phone from Kenan.
Yep.
Which tubas are expensive, so I would assume that a tuba
Yeah.
phone that was probably more than $100.
Yeah. It looked expensive.
And then Kyra just wants Kel for Christmas.
Who can blame her?
I feel like she really overacted the first part of that, though. It was like, ugh, jeez.
She kind of always does that, though. That's the running joke. And then after the non, I don't remember the last names, Thompson, or no, that's his actual last name. The non Rockmores leave.
Rockmore.
His parents and sister are like, Kel told us what you did. And another part where I just laughed out loud.
Same.
Kenan's like, I didn't do it.
I laughed out loud too. That was funny.
That was a good one.
Kenan is iconic.
He
Very,
knew how to run a scene or to steal a scene. And they told him they were proud of him.
Aw, another aw.
Aww.
And then where I assumed they were going to buy him the bike as a Christmas gift, no, what happens? But the real Santa leaves Kenan a bike, and I did not see that one coming.
Well, actually, that was the Santa from the mall. He was returning a favor. I'm just kidding. But that's like mall Santas just keep showing up at people's house. Yo, buddy, you gotta stop showing up at people's houses.
With the meager $100 a day salary.
But it's kind of like, I think it almost sends the wrong message. Like, if you're a selfish ass and at the last minute, like, grow a conscience, then someone will give you stuff. Like, that just doesn't seem...
Santa will give you stuff.
Yeah.
Someone will find your address, break into your house, and give you exactly what you want.
Just make sure you leave your front and back doors unlocked, as well as all windows.
Yeah.
And that's Christmas magic, boys.
And so, as always, they close out the show by going back to the stage. Yeah, Chappelle. Kenan Kel did it first, as Rocky said. And I was like, oh God, they're going to sing, aren't they? Which they close out with, "We wish you a Merry Christmas." And then Kenan remembers a scheme because it's going to be New Year's soon. And here it goes.
There it went.
We're all doing the hand throw.
So good.
Yeah. My favorite part of that one was, "We're not done with this year yet." Kel screams after him, and then you get the holiday graphic, which is a staple of 90s Christmas episodes.
Yeah.
Happy holidays.
What was it, like the postcard Happy Holidays one?
That was ABC, where it was the greeting card and it, like, opens. They obviously didn't have the budget for that at Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Just
They were
the
too busy
graphic.
hiring Coolio and TLC.
Yeah.
Which was the better spend of money, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely.
Kids don't care about a folding graphic greeting card. They would rather have Coolio and TLC.
Yeah, and that's the truth.
But you don't have to take my word for it. That's Reading Rainbow. Let's see. Any final thoughts on the episode? Let's start with Rocky, I guess.
Fantastic. Of course, we did point out some of the issues with the episode, but when you're watching a children's show and a sitcom, sometimes you do have to suspend disbelief. I give it a 9 out of 10, and only because it was only 22 minutes long. I could have done with more Kenan and Kel.
Oh yeah. Andrew?
I don't know. I feel like I wasn't really in the right frame of mind to watch it.
You were kind of rushing through it.
Neither was your TV.
Had a headache, like just not. I was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to go back and watch this program. I just don't know that I would. I have so much other stuff like movies and TV to catch up on. I'm not sure this one's going to hit the list, but it was fun.
So you always say something like, at the end of the day, I feel good having watched these episodes, and for the first time in a long time for watching these Christmas episodes, this one actually feels like, wow, I actually do appreciate having gone back, and I feel better for watching this episode.
I think part of the reason I feel better for watching them is because it's like an act of self-discipline. Like, I really didn't want to watch this, but I watched the whole thing, and now I'm going to tell you why I hate it.
I thought it was because
that's who I am.
I thought you always said it because, to me, my interpretation of that was because it was better than I thought it would be.
No. God, no.
Oh, good.
Like I somehow
Good.
just feel accomplished that I was able to get through some such bad television.
I'm glad I get to rewrite all of that in my brain, and
That hurts.
I made the correct choice in picking episodes that you would hate. But for me, it felt so good going back to Kenan and Kel, just because like I have not seen a single episode of this in 2 decades, probably.
Agreed.
And yeah, it's just to watch the intro with Coolio, like I played that a few times. I went back and watched the All That intro a few times. Just like to feel like television was being made for me, like that was a good nostalgic feel.
And we looked forward to it. Like I looked forward to Snick every Saturday.
And they really programmed us to love television and understand.
Great.
Yeah, exactly, right. But
They did their job.
But like, I mean, in the long run, it made me like shows in the future that are well written and like not The Big Bang Theory. Like,
Yeah. Oh gosh.
It's shows that are made for people that appreciate. I don't know what I'm actually saying here, but Kenan Kel.
You should have said Kel and Kenan.
Kel and Kenan, yes. That's the reboot that's coming.
No,
after.
that's in the theme song. Kenan and Kel. I should have said Kel and Kenan.
The Coolio. See,
Don't you know anything?
I don't remember. I did not remember the lyrics as well as Rocky did, and suddenly in 2015. But yeah, I guess that's it for this holiday edition of Namely 90s. Thank you to Rocky Powell of Wild Nights with Rocky Powell for coming on. Can you let our listeners know where to find you?
Absolutely. And thank you for having me on, fellas. This was really fun. And it was great to rewatch Kenan and Kel. That was one of my favorite shows growing up. So it was an absolute pleasure to rewatch it. And you can follow me at Wild Nights with Rocky on Instagram and TikTok. If you're on Twitter, I'm at Wild Nights Pod, and I drop episodes every Monday at noon Eastern Standard Time. But my season finale will be this Monday at December 13th. That's my last episode until January. But if you are just learning about Wild Nights with Rocky, just start from the beginning and start listening, or listen anywhere, because they don't necessarily need to go in order. It's an comedy interview podcast. So I'd love to hear your thoughts if you listen, and check out the show if you can.
Yeah, please do check that out.
Definitely.
And you could find us on Twitter and Instagram at Namely90s with 90s, or find our personal accounts at bschwitty and at NamelyAndrew, and tell us what you want us to talk about on future episodes. If you'd like to support the show, please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Namely90s, also with a 90s. And finally, you can contact us through our website, Namely90s.com. Please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Here it goes. Deezer, TuneIn, iHeart, Good Pods, and wherever you get your podcast from. I'm Brandon. That's Andrew. Thank you one final time to Rocky Powell of Wild Nights with Rocky Powell. And tune in tomorrow for the penultimate episode of our 2021 12 Days of Christmas specials. We'll catch you next time. Or tomorrow, I guess, would be the thing.